Coach Greg.
In today's video,
I didn't look much better when I was on Test, Tren, EQ, and Masterone with Anavar and Halo Testin and IGFs and all the peptides like GHRP 2, 6, and growth hormone than I did on just...
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
he is the one and only Greg Doucette. He's the author of the Ultimate Anabolic Cookbook.
Like, I could go up 5 times the dose and get 20% more results, and it's absolutely not worth it.
You may have heard his awesomely screechy voice discussing matters of fitness and diet with a level of frankness unusual for a Canadian.
Some people think that there's a soulmate, that there's like that one true love that's out there. There's 10,000 of those people. No matter how much you love that person, no matter how gifted, how amazing they are.
All right. What's up, homies? IFBB pro bodybuilder, sumo, deadlift, Guinness world record holder, fitness coach, YouTube personality with 2 million subscribers, and top tier chef, Greg Doucette. Thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Thank you. Other than being a top tier chef, I'm hoping to do those things.
The meals that you make are pretty crazy, though. And those pancakes look fire.
Well, the thing is, I can't cook at all, but because I can't cook, I think that people can relate, because like if I can't do it and I actually can make the recipes in my book, then other people can do it. I'm actually a shitty chef. I have no presentation skills, but over like 20 years of making recipes, I figured out easy stuff that actually tastes good.
I mean, that would make sense. Like whenever you're prepping, I feel like that's like the biggest experimental mode if you're not on a strict, like one of those, traditional coach plans, having to eat the same shit over and over again. I remember for a period of time, like I prepped for 9 shows and I was dousing everything in sugar-free syrup.
Oh, I'm all about it. Yeah. Mrs. Buttersworth on everything. Put it on my salad, put it on anything. Oh yeah. When you're starving that bad, you learn to make things taste good.
But what got you started as a YouTuber? Like what's the first memory that defined you to become, this accomplished YouTuber? Because I understand you came from teaching, right?
Yeah, like I actually started YouTube just to show off. Like literally, I'm really strong in these bench presses and deadlifts. So I'm like, I'm going to videotape myself and upload it on this thing called YouTube. I don't know what that is. It's 2006. And so I just posted a few of these videos just because other people, I wanted to see my lifts. Like where else are they going to see it? And I thought nothing of it. I didn't know what a follower was. None of that. Then like 5-6 years later, I started posting more videos on like how to diet, nutritional information, some stuff about steroids, like what Anavar is, what it does. Still thought nothing of it. And then I came back a few years later and was like, what's this video on Anavar with 600,000 views? I'm like, that's a lot. And then I thought maybe I should make more videos like that. And then I started doing a lot of videos, more and more and more. And then I was like, wow, these videos are starting to go viral. I'm going to really give it 100%, because my goal was just to get more clients for coaching. I literally was like, YouTube is a way for me to expand my coaching into outside of Halifax, my city that I'm in. I was coaching everyone. I was a very popular coach in the area, but I wanted to expand. And going on the internet, I got guys like Ian Valaire, who ended up being at the Mr. Olympia. And I coached several others, and it became my thing, and eventually turned into the cookbooks and everything that you see today.
That's so epic, man. Like, especially having Ian as a client. I always wanted to know his methodologies too, considering he freaking basically like bred Chris Bumstead as a bodybuilder, right? You
should see this. Ian's showing me this kid. He's flexing, and Chris is flexing. He's like, look at this kid I'm coaching. And I'm like, who's that? He's like, oh, he's like 18 or 19. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is nuts. And I'm like, what is this guy? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm just coaching this guy. And then like 2 years later, he's on the Olympia stage. It was nuts.
That's absolutely crazy. I want to know the secret.
Genetics. His sister's also an Olympia qualified athlete, like Chris Bumstead's sister. They both have ridiculous genetics.
Right? They're almost like a family of bodybuilders, right?
It is. Like imagine brother and sister on the Olympia stage. It's just crazy.
Honestly, should have just stuck to math class.
You were good in math?
I'm just Asian.
Oh, I'm literally, that was my best subject in school. I'm like a Rain Man. I love numbers. I love math. I actually taught math for like 5 years as a school teacher back in the day. So I taught a bit of everything, but yeah, I taught math grades 7 to 12.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I love that you transitioned so smoothly into YouTube too, though. But I think that recognition of like the Anavar video coming off, I don't know if you know Vigorous Steve.
Yes, of course. I met him at the Olympia. I watch a lot of his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So we just had our podcast last, and he was explaining that he believes that honestly that guys shouldn't have an excuse for not being on top of their health when they're taking PEDs or gear or anything associated with that, because now that they have this information available to their hands, like how to be proactive about their health as they're on these, things, doing supplement regimens, cardio and everything, all of the above. And I think that's probably something that's just extra valuable in this like day and age. Like the fact that we can have that transparency on YouTube, I think that's probably a big reason, even though your personality is fucking amazing. And I think it's why your videos are especially funny and pop off, especially when you get mad, dude. That shit's hilarious.
People like the yelling. They do. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny. I think I just saw the last video that you uploaded. Who was it? You're mad at some guy who was like claiming that you were full of shit for the body fat percentage.
Mitchell Hooper.
Yeah, Mitchell Hooper.
Yeah, he's the world's strongest man. We're buddies. We're talking back and forth like all the time. Like we're not mad at each other at all. Right. But it's like for views, we're like, hey, that was a good title. Thanks for name dropping me. Now I get to do a response video, and everyone's gonna think I hate you. Meanwhile, we're collaborating. Can't wait to see you in Toronto next time I'm visiting. It's awesome. But people love the yelling. Like, yeah,
that's awesome. That's fucking funny.
Yeah, people probably think I'm this big asshole, but like all my friends are like, you're the nicest guy, and like, but online, you think you're gonna meet me, I'm gonna be like screaming and shouting. Like, in fact, people come up to me and be like, "You're Greg, but you don't sound like him, so like you're his doppelganger." Like they don't think it's me because I'm just talking normal. Happens like daily. It's unbelievable.
That's crazy. That's insane. I mean, I don't feel like it's a crazy difference except for that, like you just have more energy.
Yeah, I have a weird voice, and when I yell, it just comes out like that. I'm like, it's not like I'm trying on purpose to sound stupid. Like I have a weird voice. Remember, I was a school teacher. I'm in phys ed class. I'm trying to get the kids' attention. I'd use a whistle all the time because I'm like, if I yell, I sound messed up. So I'm just like, blow the whistle. Okay, kids, listen. Like, I'm not the like yell at people kind of guy. I'm like a calm guy in real life. So it's weird,
So how's like this transition to YouTube? How did this whole change of your career? How did that affect your love life, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, when I first got into like, I had a relationship for 11 years, and I was like just getting out of being on house arrest or type thing. I was on house arrest for selling steroids in the past. It's no secret. So I used to sell steroids like years ago, stopped doing that. So I met a girl, we were together 11 years, and I was just a coach. So it wasn't that weird. It was normal. I was coaching people. I start making more videos on YouTube, and I'm like, check this out. I got 10,000 views on this video. Can you believe it? And I'm like getting better and better. And all of a sudden I'm getting more clients. And then I remember I was making over $500,000. I only had like 50,000 subscribers. So it's like, I can't even keep up coaching. Like I was working 100 hours a week. Like, I don't think people believe how much work I was doing. I was extremely successful. And I guess it would have taken away a lot of time with her, because I would get up at 4 a.m. and start doing coaching plans. Like, I'm not saying no to anyone. And I'd up my prices. I charged 5 times more money and had 5 times more clients. I was just like, this is unbelievable. I was in shock. I was scared to tell my friends how much money I was making, because I was like, I don't want them to be jealous or envious, because it's getting ridiculous. And then that was just the beginning. It just was just starting. And then I can't coach anymore. So I made the cookbooks and all these things and went from there. So I would say that at first she really liked it, and trust me, she liked the money, but I think it plays a toll on how much work I was actually putting into being like that successful guy, like that, that top 1.1% guy that's making a lot of money, that's successful. But you can't do that without the effort. And so I was trying to do the most I could to be as successful as I could. And at this point, I work half as much as I used to. Like, I've already done it all. I have a team of 17 people that work for me. And so I have to do at this point is really like do videos. Like, I'm involved in coaching, but to a much lesser extent. And so I have way more time. I'm just now like traveling the world. Like, I got trips planned everywhere. I'm having the time of my life, like the happiest I've ever been in my life. Oh, and I should point out, I've been single for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Yeah. 4 months.
Holy shit. That's crazy. Honestly, your transparency is much appreciated. Like, I'm always trying to think of like, I feel like people don't normally give out like numbers. Like, I have 17 people working under me. And for me,
I say everything.
It's helpful.
I'm like, people can judge me or think I'm bragging or I'm showing off. I'm just accurate. I'm honest. I've been accused of being, you're a snake oil salesman. You're lying. You're bullshitting. You're exaggerating with the supplement. I'm like, I just tell you what it's doing. I'm a very honest person. Like that's as honest to a fault I've been called. And so when I say something, I'm not lying. I'm just, this is how it is, you know?
I mean, that's how people are, honestly. If you're going to like pinpoint or imagine that that quote unquote people are like the comments that you're reading, I mean, more often than not, it's going to be these type of people that are commenting anyways, right? I think everybody gets that in the industry, like everybody, literally. Like I had some reels even on my podcast of like Larry Wheels talking about his dosages, and literally like I feel like 75% of the comments were people saying like he's fucking lying, they all lie. If everybody ever lied, literally anyone who was actually natty, you would not believe they're natty, and anyone who's actually telling the truth about their dosages, you still wouldn't believe it. Yeah,
you can't win. I mean, there's a point where you just got to say, I'm just going to be honest. I know I'm telling the truth. You don't have to believe me. And it is what it is. I mean, I've been saying for 4 years now, I'm only on HRT, 140 milligrams a week. I have videos, your chest is too red. I'm like, maybe I just suntan a little bit too much. And you're on GH, you're on this. I'm like, guys, I'm on what I'm on. I tell you my height and my weight. Eric Konevsky comes at the Olympia. How tall are you? I'm like, 5'6". I take my shoes off, measure 5'6". I make fun of myself. I'm a 5'6" manlet all the time. I'm not going to add 2 inches. I don't need 2 more inches. I am who I am.
Yeah, I think whatever just suits someone's ego at the end of the day is what's going to come out of their mouth, especially if you don't have to have a profile picture on your page.
Yeah, I don't need to lie. I don't need to exaggerate. I'm happy with who I am. I'm confident in my own self. And so why would I exaggerate or take, like, I'm not going to downplay. I'm not going to be extra humble. I'm not going to brag extra. I'm just going to be accurate. That's what I mean. If you want to define me, Greg is accurate. If you ask me a question, I'm going to accurately answer it.
So do you feel that, transitioning to YouTube from having all those clients, how many clients did you have, by the way?
At my most, I was doing like 64 at the time, at the most. Okay. And it was overwhelmingly difficult to have that many clients and to be like, they'd write me a question. I'd have to go on my chart. What's that person's name and look them up and then give them information. It was way too much. Comfortably, I could coach in the 30s.
I believe everybody coaches differently, so I can't really like make assumptions, but I do feel like if someone's coaching like 200 people plus, then it's potentially a red flag. Because it's 100. So hard. Yeah. Each one's a relationship. If it's 100,
it's bullshit. And so here's breaking news. When you hire a famous YouTuber, they're not doing your coaching plans. Like if you think, like if some guy with like millions of followers is being hired and you think that they're writing out your whole coaching plan and coaching you privately, the newest influencer with 1 million followers, there's no way they're coaching 500 people individually and you can call them and text them at any time. You're being had. Like that's just straight up. That's what's happening.
No, I think so too. I think people really underestimate how much work and time puts into making content.
Yeah. I charge $39,000 for a year of coaching, $25,000 for 6 months. If you're getting the $199 a month special, if I have a coaching plan and it's $199 a month and you text me anytime, do you really think it's me writing you? But people fall for that all the time. They have staff doing it for them. They're pretending to be them. People are getting tricked all the time.
Mm-hmm. So how did transitioning to YouTube like affect your love life and your relationships? Do you feel like changing the workload and coming over to like a new focus affected that at all?
At first, it was great. I was pursuing my passion. I was like basically put on this earth to promote health and fitness to the world, to make everyone love being healthy as much as I do. I mean, think about it. I was a phys ed teacher. I spent my life trying to promote health and fitness. So I'm becoming more popular on YouTube. I'm getting more people to listen. It's amazing. It's like, wow. It's like, this is great. But the more it goes on, it's kind of like, okay, now you're just working all the time and not really spending that much time together. And I just want, I don't even know if I can talk too much about this because it's an ex-girlfriend and I do have an NDA. So I can't really explain everything because like, I don't want to get sued, but I don't think it had a great influence on the love life. Although at first I think it did, but later on, I don't think it helped. But since that time and since I've been single, I can say that it's a lot easier to date when you're famous and have a lot of money than when you're younger. I'm without question, it's easier for me to meet somebody now than it would have been before YouTube.
I agree with that too, which I find, I mean, I don't like it because we like to fantasize, you know, reality isn't always fun, but at the same time, I mean, having that understanding, I think is a good way for us to really integrate into our mental that like we really need to work on ourselves. Like that's the first step to honestly getting a better relationship is like focusing and working on yourself, making sure you're ready for that person.
I can say as soon as I broke up with my last girlfriend, I met somebody else and she was really big into like discovering why she was who she was. And I started reading every single book I could get my hands on to become more knowledgeable of myself. And so when I look to meet other people now, I'm right away thinking, do you know about yourself? How confident are you? Are you a secure person? Like, what kind of relationship are you looking for? And if I don't have that, I'm like, I don't even know where to talk. Like, I don't even know where to start a conversation. If somebody doesn't know what attachment style they have or what they are looking for in a partner, if I can't communicate, because for me, like, communication is everything, and having a deep, intimate connection with someone is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a long-term, monogamous, long-term partner, like a long-term relationship. But when you meet people at first, it's like, what do they really want? Are they after me for my money? Because obviously I have a lot of money and I'm older. I'm 48. So I like dating a lot of girls. They're 20 years younger. Do you know what I mean? So are they into the same things as I am? Like I'm at that higher age, you know, I'm very successful and I'm at my peak, let's say. Some people might be looking to exploit that or take advantage. And so do you know that? So, you know, you do have to be cautious, but I am up to the challenge. And I mean, it's great so far.
I think it does make it super hard though. That's the thing is like being in this place where we have that money and we have maybe a higher status than we used to. It's kind of, it's hard to tell what they want you for, right? But something that I've tried to keep in mind in my perspective is that if we always look at things that way, then the entire world just seems shallow. Because men, most of the time, their first priority for looking for a female tends to be their appearance, right? Which is also a sign of fertility. And for men and for women, you know, it's providence. Like, how much can a man provide? So, in reality, it's kind of just ingrained in who we are. It shouldn't be looked at as a shallow thing. And I think we should see our achievements, like maybe how much we've achieved in our career, how well we're doing in our success is something that's part of us. It is just unfortunate that, you know, people start from a different place. So some people just don't have that opportunity.
I think it's perfectly okay that we start from different places. You brought up a great point, looks. 100% of why I date somebody at start is looks. 100%. That quickly goes down to nothing over time because I don't care how good looking you are at 20 or at 30 or at 40. At 90, you're not going to be very hot. So, excuse me. Once you get older, it's all about communication. So quickly to get in the door, like if I have a McLaren 720, it's a nice car, but if you open it up and it smells like a dead skunk in there, are you going to get in for a ride with me? No. And so that's somebody's appearance. If I see you and you're like, wow, you are a knockout, but I start talking to you and you have no substance and I can't carry a conversation. You have no depth. You don't want to discuss anything. I have no interest. It's a nice shiny car on the outside. I'll look, but I'm not going for a ride with you. Like that's what I'm looking for. And obviously there's people that have both. You just have to look hard enough and act quickly enough to realize this. When I date somebody, I get into the deep, dark questions on day one. I'm not wasting any time. It's our first date. I'm asking you everything. I'm not going to just, how's your day? And all. No, like what was the cause of your last breakup? Why did you break up? What kind of attachment style? Are you an abandonment attachment style? Like avoidance? Like, are you anxious? What is wrong? What makes you tick? And I'm like really, really into it. You really get to connect with somebody quickly if you do that. And then you don't waste time. Because in the dating game, do I want to waste 5 hours on a date if the girl has no connection? I want to know right away.
That's a great analogy. What's your attachment style?
I'm a very secure attachment style, very secure. So I'm not jealous. You can do this or that. I'm not worried about what you're doing. I want to get to know you. If you give me some more, I'll give you some more back. I'm not going to pull back. I'm not going to get away. It's like, oh, you really open it up to me. You say you really love me. Oh, I better not talk to you. No. Oh, really? Let's dig more into that. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very open to communicating and I absolutely love it. And people would never expect that from me. Like when they see me on YouTube, they think, oh, he's just this and that. I'm deep. I don't even want to talk about weightlifting. People just think I want to talk about bench pressing. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. I want to talk about relationships, deeps. What was it like for you as a child? How did that affect you today? Mentally, emotionally, that's what I'm into. Like big time, 100%.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I had to ask this question for you too, because this is something that I feel like I personally relate to. Little crazy. I posted a podcast with my ex on this, but I think I discussed this in there, and basically that I believe that one of the big reasons why it didn't work out between us was it was a little complicated because we kind of had like a little bit of an open relationship for some period of time, which I know triggers a lot of dudes, especially those in the Red Bull industry, like you and I were discussing earlier. But I think one of the big reasons why it didn't work out is because when I started really focusing on my social media, I was blowing up at one point on Instagram and TikTok. And when you're doing that, you feel like you have all this momentum that you have to keep carrying on. And at that point, honestly, like I just felt like my allowance, my balance of time just dwindled, and I just had to focus on my career. And in doing so, I realized, like, coming out of COVID, that I wasn't bringing her out on dates. I wasn't bringing her out to festivals. I wasn't taking her out to events or special things that she wanted to. And you know, of course, like the people, the women that we're with are going to start wanting to look for that stimulation elsewhere.
Well, I can say it would take a woman with a very secure attachment style. But if she isn't, if she was a bit anxious, you could easily alleviate that by talking to her. Now, people oftentimes confuse the time spent with someone with like quality time spent with someone. I can tell you, I could sit an entire day with a partner, watch TV, Netflix, talk about the weather, what's going on, drama, and not connect at all, or spend 20 minutes talking about how is your day and really what is bothering you and where are you and are you okay? And just really getting to the nitty gritty and really connecting. Those 20 minutes mean more to me than the full day of just sitting around next to each other watching some stupid show on TV. People need to spend quality time. And if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. You need to connect and you need to bring that. And I mean, that is something that I think everyone should be doing. Like people just sit and like sometimes I don't even want to watch TV with a partner. Like, why am I wasting my time, like focusing my attention on that TV when you're right in here? Like, we are here together. I watch TV on my own or some, you know, but frankly, I don't even watch TV anymore. I read books now. That's all I do. But I think that if you can get that quality time, you're going to definitely grow together.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, but I do have one pushback on that, which fortunately, or, you know, interestingly, in my perspective, I was able to experience myself. But, we had a great level of communication. However, unfortunately, in this situation, this communication kind of ended up happening a little bit too late. So, and I think a part of that is because we were in such a risky container, being in like a sort of open relationship, is that she had started experiencing some of these things, these like joyous memories and the stimulation from another person, as I wasn't taking her out to these things. So by the time they had already created some sort of relationship that almost emulated like a, you know, polyamorous relationship of sorts, you know, actually including emotion, that is when I was communicated to that I wasn't doing the things that I should be doing. And of course, me, you know, I'm in my head, I'm just like, oh, I'm in my feels. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And like, so I can't really see it for what it is. And I'm just like, you know, I'm still like not really seeing what's happening until way too late. Like I finally take her out on one thing after we broke up because it was her birthday. Long story short, we ended up reconnecting, and we literally had the opportunity to be back together. But since I was still just seeing everything so freshly, and I don't think I still totally fully understood the situation, and I was hurt, my ego was hurt, and I felt like I needed to stand up for myself, I guess, in a way. I was like, 4 or 5 days isn't enough for you to figure yourself out after she asked for me back, and I just said no. But long story short, in hindsight, now I can understand that, like, if anyone has these issues, hopefully I could bring some value by saying, like, the communication is absolutely number one, and going that extra mile to do something for your other person when they're feeling not seen, or when they're feeling like they're not obtaining the love that they would like from you, is probably a big place to keep the relationship going.
I love that you brought this up, and early communication, it's so important. And for the most part, people are not secure enough to actually voice what their needs are. I find that even difficult for me right now. I'll talk to someone. I'm like, man, I don't want to push them too hard. I don't want to give them everything I'm thinking because they might judge me or they might think that that's not appropriate. But I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna say it, because one thing people need to know, and I think this is very reassuring. Some people think that there's a soulmate, that there's like that one true love that's out there. There's 10,000 of those people. No matter how much you love that person, no matter how gifted, or how amazing they are, there's 10,000 other girls or boys equally good, if not better, than that current partner that you have that you can't imagine your life without. It just happens that you've only met, maybe you've met 1,000 people, 10,000 in your life. There's millions of people out there. So it's like that. There's plenty of fish in the sea. There's someone else out there. You might have been in a dream, like you might be married for 10 years. I can't imagine my life without that woman. Well, you break up and then 6 weeks later, you're dating somebody else that you might like even more. And so there's hope out there. People they get so caught up and they don't dare break up. I'm telling you, you can break up and you're going to meet someone just as good as or better. And so don't get caught up on settling for less than you're worth.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Do you feel like, PEDs or steroid use ever affected your relationships?
In my own life, they never did. I never kept it secret. I was like open from the start that I was taking them. So like in my last relationship, I would have been taking them the entire time. I mean, I'm an IFBB pro bodybuilder, as if it wasn't going to go without saying. I would say it didn't hurt it at all. I was on cycle, off cycle. I would say possibly my sex drive would be higher while taking steroids versus off. But I can't say that it ever affected anything. And I'm not someone to get angry on steroids. I'm not like a different person per se compared to a lot of people are. I would say harder is when I'm on a diet than anything. Like when you're like really trying to get shredded and you have no energy, that's hard. Like, yeah, let's go for a walk, babe. God, I guess I'll try to work that into my cardio. Can we rest? Like, I mean, I had no energy. Like the last 3 weeks before a show, that's pretty hard. But I didn't compete that much in the last 10 years. Like it was dwindling down a little bit. So I don't think that it was that negative. But if you're with somebody and they're natural and they start taking steroids and all of a sudden their sex drive triples, like that's what happened to me when I first started. I mean, that could be a big impact.
I had a little experience. I had to experiment. I just had to. I had to see what it was like for myself. But I did a little experiment with doing, what was it? I did NPP only, basically like Deca only.
Not a fan. Worse. Deca Dick, honestly, did you get it?
Yes, dude.
I did. And it was horrible. I'm like, this sucks.
I thought it wasn't going to happen because I wouldn't have like a prolactin raise and like a hormone imbalance from doing test with Deca or test with NPP. But even regardless of like using ACG to like at least give myself enough estrogen and then having NPP with the base, I just still had Deca Dick. And
yeah,
I did. So
my experience, I've never done Deca on its own. I personally wouldn't recommend that. I was doing it with, amongst other things, as part of my cycle. I'm able to initiate having sex, and then I'm like a couple minutes into it, I can't keep it going, or I can't finish. I'm like, what is happening right now? I was like, this is the worst stuff, and I've tried it more than once. I'm like, no, it's not for me. So I completely cut it out. So I've only used Deca twice in my life because Deca Dick. Like it literally happened to me. Yeah,
and I feel like a lot of people really think that like they like Deca as like a bulking cycle agent. Like I hear all the time test Primo, EQ, and Deca as like 4 goodies that people really like, and I just can't even imagine myself getting on Deca again.
It's not worth it. I mean, up the dose of EQ and add in Masterone or something. Like there's other options. There's so many other things you can take. There's so many. I'm not even going to get into the list, but there's so many things you can take instead that why bother?
I just do really want like the whole lubricating of joints feeling, because
if you need lubricating of joints, then there's a problem. Like you shouldn't need that, as if it's not actually doing that anyway. I mean, when you're on testosterone, you're definitely holding water. So you're getting a lot of water retention, which I don't like anyway. I don't like if you look back at some of my own photos, I looked and I'm like, I can't believe I look like that. Like I look much leaner, better. Like visually, I think my face is more attractive now than when I was blasting. I would have been still lean, but I would look like a puffy marshmallow.
Dude, I know what you mean. The moon phase.
Yeah. I was like, man, that looked bad. It didn't look good. I was like, wow, my face is so fat looking, but I would have had a full 6-pack, but no, my face looked bad.
It's miserable, dude. I mean, I was bringing this up actually with Vigorous Steve too, and I was asking him, like, do you understand why? Do you happen to know why there's bodybuilder competitors that have puffy cheeks when they go on stage? Why are there puffy cheeks when you go on stage when you're fucking like 4% body fat?
Yeah, the water retention from steroids. It's that bad. Like you can literally look chubby in the face but lean everywhere else. That's when you know there's like some serious abuse going on.
Right. I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed that. So Chris Bumstead, I think it was either the third or his fourth Olympia, but his other Olympias before that, he had puffy cheeks, and either his third or his fourth one, his cheeks fucking, they like went back down. His face looked really lean and everything. I
don't remember him not ever looking like a lean chisel face. I do personally. I mean, my favorite Chris Bumstead look would be like his first Olympia. Like when he was younger with less muscle, he was less shredded than he is now. But I felt that's a better look. Like for me, bigger isn't always better. Now, granted, as a bodybuilder, Chris Bumstead in his last show or the year before looks better than he first did. But if I had to trade physiques with somebody, I would rather look like Chris when he was first competing, even though he didn't win, than he does right now. And lose the mustache.
I would
no
too.
Mustache.
No mustache?
None. Get rid of that.
What about on the stage?
Off the stage. No mustache. I am classic. I don't know what made him think that was a good idea, but hey, he can do anything. This man's incredible. But there's no way I'm pulling off the stash if I'm Chris Bumstead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel the same though. I feel the same about I just would rather have a leaner physique. Like the fact that I'm bulking for my pro debut is not for any females whatsoever. Not even close. It's only
and girls don't like that look anyway. Do you really think girls are more attracted to a 200-pound bodybuilder than 180? Like, from my look right now is more appealing sexually or more desirable to most women than my look at my best, jacked up on all the steroids. That's like that. There's a law of diminishing returns. Like, there's a certain point where it's like, yeah, you look better, more muscles, hotter, and then no. Like Chris Bumstead, his first year at the Olympia. Okay, maybe he's at his peak. He's not better now. If he turns to open and puts on 20 more pounds, he's just going downhill. It's not helping him. And so when guys try to get jacked, they want to look like Sam Sulek, that's for other guys. Like, rare does a girl slide into my DMs and say, hey, you're hot. Like, rare. I've had some, but it's rare, but a lot of guys. So if you're trying to like, if you're into dudes, then get jacked. But if you're into girls, just have some muscle and be aesthetic.
Bro, it's so rare for me, man. I always have people asking me like, dude, I bet girls are sliding in your DMs all the time, and they're fucking not. I get like no girls in my DMs. Literally any girls that I talk to or anything are simply because of like our personality exchange, like when we meet. It's simply from like getting to know each other. It's always from getting to know each other.
And you know why that is? Because they don't have to. Every guy is writing girls. Like if I write one girl, she'll be like, yeah, there's 20 guys that wrote me yesterday. Yeah, in the last 2 days. Really? And so think of the choice they have. I'm only getting in because it's me. Like there's 20 other guys chasing them and it's effective for me, but it's me. Like they recognize me, you know? So girls who are 6s are getting chased by guys who are 9s, and they're so used to like, oh yeah, I can get 9s, but like they can get them for one night, but they're not staying with them. So they don't realize this. So like the act of online dating or like DMing and messaging, it's so skewed towards the woman get everything and the guys have to fight for nothing, that it's not even worth it unless you're a Chad, unless you're like the peak level. You're getting like 15% of the men are getting 80% of the women. That's just how life works.
Yeah.
Women don't realize this. It's useless. Yeah. And so, yeah, anyway, that's a whole different topic.
Mm-hmm. They really are.
It's crazy. Yeah. So there's not a lot of girls that are writing me in private. That's for sure.
We'll get right back to the podcast in a second, but I just wanted to take this break to thank you guys immensely, because this podcast is my favorite content to create, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. Contributing to it will further help its growth and allow us to listen to more amazing guests such as the one you're listening to today. So if you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so by rating us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you find your podcast, or subscribing to the YouTube channel. And if you would like to help fund the podcast, you can do so by using Nile for a discount off of Young LA clothing or huge supplements. Thank you guys again so much. We'll be right back to the podcast. I think social media is just really contorting the whole dating market, though. It's just making it so much harder. Everyone believes like they have so many more options, but like in reality,
the grass is always greener on the other side. That's it. Mm-hmm. And so this is what's the problem with social media. You're in a relationship and it's great. And you, let's say we have communication, but not quite enough communication. And as soon as you have a fight, as soon as somebody says something and you don't have the balls, you're not secure enough to say, hey, you know, let's talk about this. You said this is how it made me feel. Oh, you're such a pussy. You're complaining. And then you're like, oh, then you back off and then you message a girl. My girlfriend just said this. What do you think? Oh, I would never do that. And all of a sudden you're meeting for coffee and all of a sudden you're cheating and the relationship's over because there's so many options over there. Rather than coming towards your woman and saying, let's talk about this. It's so much easier to go and seek advice elsewhere. Being consoled by somebody else. That is the problem. People rather take the easy route. It's so much harder to say, I'm upset by what you just said to me. Let's talk about this because that's confrontation. I'll do it. I say it all the time. But girls or people I talk to, they're not going to want to hear that. But if they don't and are not willing to hear that, I'm going to see the next girl. Because if we can't talk, somebody else will. And so that is the big problem. That's why there's always an outlet. Greg said this. Greg didn't treat me right. Greg is whatever. I'll talk to Bob or George. So quickly that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I think in right now it's made it a lot harder. I think previously, it's kind of crazy that I'm saying this, especially since I've had some experience in like an open relationship. But initially, morals were there, and these rules we had rules like in like a handbook, like say like the Bible that was created. Like we would create rules for society in order to keep ourselves in line. We would have these morals set and these standards to keep ourselves in line. But I think nowadays in our society these days, it's harder than ever to do that, and thus we're kind of just reacting more to our emotions than we are ever before. So the moment that you feel not so excited about a relationship, not so stimulated by a relationship, what's the next thing that you go to? You go somewhere else for that stimulation rather than being aligned with what we would have had as morals back in the day. Like, this is who you're committed to. You're not allowed to see other people. You should have eyes for the woman that you married, and you got to work things out.
Well, and speaking of emotional and reacting to emotions, women much more often react to emotions. Men much more often react logically. And I'm a very illogical person. I think through every scenario. I can put aside how I feel and think, what are the optics of this? What does this actually mean? Not many people can do that. People remember the emotion. Like, I remember how you made me feel. I don't remember what you said, but I remember being pissed off. You did this. But like, you could say, well, this is what I said. But I felt this way, but I meant this by saying that. But because they didn't feel that way, it doesn't matter what I said. It doesn't matter what I meant to say. It only matters how I meant them feel. And so sometimes when you're texting, oh my God, I can't text. Texting somebody, it doesn't come out right. And you don't, communication is like what, 78% nonverbal. So you don't have the nuances of like the voice and the facial reactions. So you're texting something. They think you're pissed off or mad when you're trying to give them a compliment. So very difficult to communicate now.
Texting is horrible, man.
Texting's a nightmare.
I hate it.
I've only been single for 4 months and I'm like old school. Like when I first got a phone, somebody would say good morning and I would call. Hey, what's up? I was just texting you. I'm like, yeah, but like you said hi. What did you want? No, I just texting. I'm like, what do you mean just texting? I'm so old that there was no texting. I didn't have a phone growing up. So nowadays everyone is texting. I don't know how to text. So I'm like, why don't people call? Like, I want to say hi. I want to see you in person. But people are like, oh yeah, just what's up? And it's like, it's a new world. Like, I don't even know how to do this. I'm just experimenting. I'm probably screwing everything up, but I'm trying.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely super personal. So you absolutely don't have to answer this at all, but I'm just a little bit curious. But,
sure.
What might potentially have happened between your last relationship? How come like you're moving on to a new stone?
I think without breaking the NDA, I can say that we weren't mutually connecting as in a deep way. Like I would love to say it, but like I'm not legally allowed to say what happened. But I can say that we weren't mutually coming together and effectively communicating what we want in the relationship. I can't really say who did what or why or who initiated what, but I would love to. But like, I absolutely would love to talk about every single detail. I just am not able to.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I feel like that. Unfortunately, that's what happens most of the time. The communication sometimes it's just even worse when you go through all the therapy. Sometimes communication just still doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be willing to communicate, like, and you have to want it. I mean, I can't say, like, I could explain in detail. It would be like in 5 seconds you'd understand, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, just backtracking to the bodies, though, I actually had a YouTube video. I have a YouTube video theme that normally pops off. So the first one I did with Zach from Australia. I don't know if you know him.
Talander? Zach Talander?
No, not Talander. He's a fitness guy from Australia, the one that has the pajama company. I'm just brainstorming.
Australia.
I can't remember his
we
last
have,
name.
Yeah, I'm me with names. I only know 3 people from Australia, but...
Anyways, we did a YouTube video, and basically it's asking girls series. So we would go up to girls, and we would have 6 pictures of 6 different physiques, all with the heads cut off. And secretly 2 of the pictures would be the 2 of us, and then the other ones were like celebrities, right? So we would go around asking girls, and Zach and I asked people like around the clubs, or on the streets, like just in public areas. And then I just did another video with Eric, Eric Janicki.
Yeah.
Literally did the same theme just 2 days ago. Haven't edited it or put it out yet. So I guess I'm spoiling the end. But we did it at Zoo Culture, at a gym.
Yeah.
So the first one, I was still kind of surprised, but it kind of made sense. The girls, out of all the body types we picked, fitness body types, dad bod, everything, girls picked... who was it? Fucking Justin Bieber's physique.
Yeah.
Like really lean,
but not like muscled up, just like really fit. Jacked.
Yeah, like
just a fit guy.
As fit as a guy can, as a singer and musician that doesn't really work out very much. And then, but there was a lot of people. There was a lot of girls that actually picked the dad bod too, which I was a little bit surprised about.
Are they being honest? I'm thinking you got a camera on me and you pose. I'm going to be like, I'm going to say what I think people want me to say. I don't know if people are going to be 100% honest. Like, let's be honest. Like, are you actually being, like, if you walk up to a camera, hey, what's your body count? Is it closer to 10 or 100? Most girls are going to say closer to 10, even if it's 300. You know what I mean? Like,
body count's a little bit different though, but yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I trust people's honesty in these situations, but.
It's probably a little bit skewed.
Like if you show me a bunch of pictures and I got the girl with breasts that are this big and an ass implants and the whole thing, and it's like, which do you prefer? Are you going to dare say the one that everyone's going to make fun of you for liking? You know what I mean? Like you might be like, I'll go in the middle somewhere.
There does seem to be like a trend line depending on what kind of person that we're asking though, because when we went to Zoo, we had bodies with Justin Bieber's, and then we also had a dad bod in there. And we also had a strongman bod in there, but the girls ended up surprisingly picking my physique when I was like at my lean, whatever. So like not as.
I don't think that's surprising. I would have pictured that. They would pick your lean physique. If it's a group of people who are into fitness, they appreciate the work and effort and dedication it takes to get to that point. And I can tell you this, once you go jacked, you never go back. Everyone knows this. Like if you've just dated skinny guys and you've never experienced muscle, until you've experienced it, you don't know what you're missing. And so they don't think they want or need that. But once they feel and see and understand the muscle and they understand, appreciate the work that went into getting that, you're going to want that. It'd be like once you have a guy who's, if you date somebody who just got high school versus university versus a PhD, like as you go up the echelon of maybe being more educated, you're going to appreciate the work. Not only what do they know, but the work that they put into getting that. Same with your income. Mm-hmm. What did, not just, oh, you have $10 million, $100 million, not that. The work that it took to get there, that is a turn on for women. And if it's not, it should be. Yep. The effort that went into that. I don't care if it's muscle, how fast you are at running, biking, if you can play an instrument. The fact that you took hours and hours daily for years to pursue something with passion, how can that not be a turn on to anyone? Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the girls, if not maybe even half the girls that I've dated at the gym, I dated ended up being from the gym. And I think that's just because like attracts like, and that's kind of where I find most of my attraction is a girl that works out. So I think similarly for other females, like I think that's one of the reasons why maybe the dad bod is popular, or quote unquote popular, is because most females in the world have mom bods. You know, we're really comparing average to average, but when it comes to like, if you're interested in a fit body and you're fit, more than likely you're going to attract a fit body too.
You ever heard that saying, like opposites attract? In the real world, that's complete bullshit. Unless it's somebody who's like a narcissist with somebody who's an empath, because then they kind of feed off each other. But in the real world, opposites, they repel, like they don't attract. So if you want a really good relationship, find something that you have in common. Do you have a common upbringings? Did you both grow up in the same type of environment? Are you into the same things? Are you both into the gym? Are you both into cardio? Do you both eat healthy? Because trust me, when one partner eats like shit and the other one eats healthy all the time, when one wants to go to the gym, one wants just to drink or party and the other one doesn't, how is that going to work out? So really, the more similar you can be, the better your relationship's going to be.
What do you think about Shizzy's physique?
Shizzy looks incredible. I also don't think he's natural. I mean, is that where we're going? Shizzy's physique. I like his arms. I think he looks amazing. He's like 99.9% on a scale of 1 to 100, like extremely outlierish physique, but I don't think he's natural.
I feel like his physique is like a very nicely close to acquiringly looking physique that, like, even though it's not normally the type of lean physique that most females want, when it comes to like a new bodybuilder's perspective, especially in this modern age, I feel like it like tailors more towards that, if that makes sense.
If Shizzy were my height, no one would be following him.
Oh yeah, no, that's true too.
Do you know how important height is?
Height definitely makes his shape.
The fact that I'm 5'6" and have anyone that even looks at me twice is lucky. Like if you go on a dating app and you say you're 5'6", you've already lost, I think it's 85 or 90% of people won't even go past that. Regardless of how hot you are, how much money, the height is everything. If you're 6 foot, 6'2", and he's, I think, 6'3", you're already, being 6'3" is better than being hot. Hot or 6'3", 6'3" is better. If you're a 10 and you're 5'6", you're an 8. You're already not as good looking. It's just how it works. It's like, this is life. And so Shizzy, I think his height, he has a lot of muscle. How tall are you, by the way?
I'm 5'8". But
yeah, so you're like, I don't want to hear that. You're a couple inches higher than me, but it's still hurting. You're a short king. Under 5'9" is average height for a male. Average height for female, 5'3.5". Now, I've had girls that won't date me who are shorter than me. I'm like, you're literally shorter than me. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it blows my mind. But I mean, my ex was taller than me. I've dated girls up to 5'11". Like, I could give two shits. Like, height doesn't intimidate me. But the fact that height intimidates you, I need somebody that can protect me. If I'm 5'6" and I'm a UFC fighter and I have the belt, is that protecting? Like, if I have a handgun, like, how is height protecting? Like, you're 6'2" and weigh 120 pounds. I just think it's hilarious. But yet we can't criticize a girl for being, I don't want to date some obese woman. I'm not into girls who are 50 pounds overweight. It doesn't turn me on. But if I say that, I get canceled. Oh my God, you're criticizing someone for their weight. You called me short. Like, I can't do anything about that. You can walk on the treadmill. You can put the fork down. So I think that's incredible how there's double standards, that men can't say they don't want to date a woman because her looks aren't the best, their weight. But women can say, hey, you're 5'6". That ain't shit. My
friend Andrew the other day, actually yesterday for Thanksgiving, said that his friend told him to, a little hack on Hinge is to put your height as 6 inches below your actual height, and you will literally acquire any girl that just wants to know you for who you are and your personality. And I was like, dude, I don't have the fucking allowance for that. I put 6 inches below my height and I'm going to be 4'6". I ain't doing that shit. Nobody.
No, you're 5'8", so you'd be 5'2", right?
Yeah, but it feels like I'm 5 foot sometimes.
Like if I went on a dating app and didn't say anything about who I am, and I say I'm 5 foot tall, I would get 0 matches. 0. There won't be anyone talking to me. The only reason I could get anyone at that height would be if they know your income or they know who you are or something. There's no one that, because think of it, you're a girl, you have 100 options like a day. Why are you picking 5'0" option when there's 6'0" option with nothing else being known? If you have 1,000 people to choose from, why are you picking the lower tier? Like if I go on a dating app, I'm not dating anyone that's below a 9. I'm not even going to look. Why would I bother? I can get 1,000 girls that are 10s. Why am I going to get a 9? So I'm starting off at the highest possible level. Like think of it, it's a dating app. So why would a girl do anything different? They're only going to date where they know they can date. 5 foot tall, unfortunately, the nicest guy in the world, they're not interested.
If you don't mind me asking, how come you don't believe Shizzy's natty?
Because, well, you have to watch my videos. It would take 2 hours to go over that. We went over his blood work. We went over his comments, his physique, the change in his physique from year after year. It's not because of how much muscle he has right now, although that's reason enough. It's how he did it throughout the years. Like I've got 2 videos in detail. I went back and forth with his coach. He went over his blood work and described, that this can be explained by he's smoking nicotine. So that explains all this versus the 99% chance that it's from getting off of a certain SARM. It's just the blood work that was the fact that only part of the blood work was shared and what blood work he did share. Like think of it. Let's take Mike O'Hearn, for example. If he showed his blood work and he only showed one level, his testosterone said it's 800. See, I'm natural. I'd be like, what about everything else? Where's your LH? Where's your FSH? Why aren't we showing your cholesterol, HDL, LDL? Why aren't we showing all these other markers that might indicate what's going on? So by him only showing part of the test, it makes you even more suspicious. You'll have to watch the video. If you watch the last 2 videos, you'll be like, so you suspect he's natty. Like if you had to bet your life on it, like 50-50, gun to your head, yes or no, has he used steroids or SARMs? You would be like, never used either.
Okay, so I have to say this honestly because he's a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. And Josh is a buddy of mine too. And now that I know both of them, I'm feeling like I'm wondering in my interactions with them since before I knew them, am I subconsciously changing my perspectives because of the way that I know him?
You have to be.
And I'm trying
I would do the same in your situation.
I feel like I would be too, right? But it's just so crazy that like when you could argue that someone's just like the best liar. But when you know them so well and so closely, it's just sometimes in certain situations, it's kind of hard to believe. But when I'm looking at the perspective of like, is their body composition acquirable? When I look at Josh, I'm very doubtful. But I also know that he's like 43% Western Black, Western African. So, and I know those guys have like some of the most savage physiques on the planet for absolutely no reason, even when they are natty. So that part gets me a little like, maybe he just has special arms because the rest of his physique looks acquirable to me. And then I look at Shizzy, and I feel like Shizzy, in general with his physique, not considering what blood work that his coach gave you, I feel like as a person, his physique is potentially acquirable natty because his body composition isn't so phenomenal. A lot of the reasons he's big is when he's pumped up with his arms after doing an arm workout. He takes those pictures. Plus, he's eating a lot of carbs, so he's really full. You could see that because his abs aren't really there. And then also from our podcast that we had, he basically talked about his whole life story. And it seemed to me that even though some of the changes in the more recent years look more phenomenal, when I went back and looked at some of his older pictures as well and aligned that with his story, he's been doing sports and lifting and working out since he was a little kid. So even though it's been on and off, he's been lifting continuously and like working out since like he was like a preteen or whatever in football and all these other sports. And now that he's like 27 going on 28 or something, I feel like it would be hard to believe that you can't acquire something like that.
See, one thing that I find that people don't understand with natty or not is oftentimes the case is he could have built that physique natural. I'm not saying that he couldn't. If you have ultra elite genetics and you train naturally, you could look way better than that. Like my physique right now is not natural, but there are guys with way better physiques than me right now that are natural. So sometimes people say, Greg, your physique is better than his, like Alex Eubank. I have a much better physique than Alex Eubank. Now, I'm not saying better as in it's better looking. I'm saying it's more muscle. It's more like a pro than his physique. But I've said how many times that Alex Eubank is not natural. He's what, 5'10" and 180? He's not giant. And absolutely, a lot of guys could get a much bigger and leaner physique than that natural. But it doesn't mean that he did. Just because somebody can do it doesn't mean that that person did. If I take any IFBB pro, let's take Chris Bumstead, and you eliminate all the drugs, he's still looking ridiculous. If Chris Bumstead were natural and he showed me physique and said, what do you think, natural or not? I'd be like, not natural. Look at this. There'd be a 99.9% I'm right. Like, if I have ace, I'm going all in off the flop. It's just because my odds are 89% that I'm going to win. So when I do natty or nots, I'm going all in to bet because I'm going to be right more than I'm wrong. And I'm all in, Shizzy's not natural, because I'm going to be right more often than I'm wrong based on the blood work that he's shown and the physique and the transformations that he's had.
I think that's a good point.
And as one more point about your friendship, I totally relate to you saying that because it's very difficult for me to say something negative or that's not in support of my friends. And it's kind of like your relationship with a woman, for example. Do you ever think that your woman would be cheating on you? Like you have a girlfriend and you're like, no, she wouldn't do that. I love her. She says this to me. I've known her for this many years. There's no way that this woman would cheat on me. But yet from the outside perspective, you people that look at it and they hear the situation, like, what the fuck? Do you think this woman's not cheating? Are you kidding? You just said this? Like, and I'll look at it on my friends. And I'm like, I'm looking at it from the outside perspective. And they're like, this is what I'm like, dude, like, really? But if I were in their shoes, I would feel the same way 100%. And so it's hard because when you're in it, it's so difficult to see it from like a different perspective. Like you're feeling it, you're vibing it. How do you get away from that? It's so difficult.
Right. I think you have I personally think you have a great neutral perspective. I think you have a great neutral perspective, but I think people don't really realize this. They understand this to a degree, but they don't really think about it when it comes out. That the people who are friends with someone, they tilt a little bit more towards giving them the favor, but all the strangers are people who don't know them, that don't support or follow them, all tilt towards the opposite side. No matter what, they always tilt towards the opposite side because when you see a guy at the gym and he looks fucking savage and you have no fucking clue who he is, you're like, who the fuck is this motherfucker, right? You guys size each other up. You're like, why is this guy jacked? And then you guys end up being best friends later and you're like, oh, I love you, bro. What's up? Let's go ahead and work out. But beforehand, you size these people up. So if you're not in support of someone that you feel like looks fucking amazing or something, or like you have no relationship with that person because you never watch their content or anything like that, more than often than not, I know for a fact it's going to tilt a little bit more towards the he's not natty side.
I should point out, I don't care at all. And I'm like, anyone that's doing this, like I'm friends with Alex. I'll text him any day. He can write me anything, ask me any question, and I'll support him 100%. Just because I say, I don't think you're natural, you're doing something, I don't judge that. It's not a measure of if I like you or not. So I have nothing against Shizzy just because I don't believe he's natural. It wouldn't bother me to be friends with him in the slightest. Like it's not even a factor. You know what I mean? Like, but I think people think it's like, it eats at me just the way I deliver the video, but it's purely for entertainment. And I mean, most of my videos, people think that it's so, you're hurting it's mostly, I mean, I'm not going to say it helps everyone, but for a large part, they're getting more followers from a video like that. A lot of people are like,
oh, for
Greg,
sure.
Can you do a natty or not? Every day, can you do a natty or not me? Well, you're not really popular enough. It won't get any views, like, but they want it. I don't care if you say I'm natural or not. Just please do a video. And it's like, I don't think it's hurting them for me to just say my opinion, So
just do a video of me, please.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not for sure, for a fact. Any discussion whatsoever just makes you a little bit more relevant because people are talking about you.
Yeah. I don't care if people get hate videos.
Hearn, right?
A great example. Michael Hearn has the most hate videos. He has more hate videos than me. I have a lot of people. Greg's horrible, is toxic. I'm like, thank you for keeping me relevant at 48. Like, how many other guys at my age have any kind of following at all? It's not a space for old geezers like me, but yet I'm here still doing it.
You also look like you're like 32 though.
Oh, no, maybe
well.
42. I'm hoping like early 40s, late 30s, but thanks though. Yeah.
Yeah. If you feel like any of the medications that we spoke about today may benefit you, such as BPC 157, GH secretagogues such as tesamorelin, IGF-1, oxandrolone trochet, semaglutide, then you can obtain these from Transcend HRT, and the link for that will be in the bio. If you feel like you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, such as depression, anxiety, lack of motivation, as well as lack of sex drive, then you can get this checked out as well by getting your blood work done at Transcend, and they will provide you expert medical analysis. Transcend HRT has worked with many professional bodybuilders and pro athletes, such as Thor Bjornsson, Phil Heath, and Jeremy Buendia. And if you feel like this podcast has any relevancy to you, I do believe that this clinic will provide of great benefit to you as well. Is there anyone that you feel like looks exceptional, but you believe is natty?
Exceptional natty physique, Jesse James West.
Oh,
I mean,
his
he's really good.
Physique looked pretty crazy.
Yeah.
When he was lean.
Brett Mosing. Brett Mosing.
Okay.
He's got a natural pro card. And he's competing natural. There's a lot of guys. I did a natty or not on a guy the other day, but I don't know his. I'm so bad with names. I wish I could like say this guy, but he's like 142 pounds and he's ripped, but he looks crazy. Like, I mean, these are natural physiques that I'm like extremely confident are actually natural.
Damn, Brett looks crazy. He does.
Yeah, he looks really good. These are like top tier natural type genetics that I'm confident in their being natural.
He's got a good old darkening of the lines on his photo editing, but for sure, like, I'm sure even in his videos, he looks crazy. Yeah, like even I watch him, they do like a posy routine. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks really good. And there's even better than these guys, but these are like famous guys that are, you know, like people are like, are they actually natural or not, that are actually doing quite well. But there's definitely much, much, much bigger and better and leaner natural bodybuilders than this. Mm-hmm. I agree too. I think one thing that makes a lot of these guys' physiques though is like some of them just have really great ab insertions.
Absolutely.
And just stay lean in their core. Right?
Yes.
Like, what is it? Like Mike Thurston too? Like if you like compare his arms
not natural.
Maybe with other people. Oh yeah, you don't believe he's natural?
Not even for a second. Did you, when he was in those red shorts up in Ibiza or whatever training, I'm like, dude, that was a sick physique. I like Mike, but there's no way I believe this guy is natural at that point. I think I've done countless videos on it. Physique. Oh my God, it's epic. I'm like, this dude is sick. Like, yeah, he looks incredible.
But I do believe though there's those token people that were just gifted from the gods to have like this polished physique as a natural. Like a few, honestly, more than often not, I see a few like black people and there's a few white people out there too that just have like these perfect abs year round no matter what they do. Like even when they were kids, they just have like lean, blocky abs for some reason. I think that's what makes their physique, because sometimes when you compare some of their arms or their legs, some of these people I'm thinking of, they don't look too big in size, but it's like just the structure of that definition in there kind of just doesn't look natural.
Before I had my hernia operations and before I became an old man, my abs were by far my strength. And when I did all my modeling and whatnot in my younger days, like in my 20s, the abs was the centerpiece. It was like, Greg, just flex your abs really hard and whatever else you do, we don't care. Because that was the centerpiece of the physique. It was all from the abs. And I was natural and I had a physique that I can guarantee if I showed you my natural physiques of when I was in my 20s, everyone would say not natural. They wouldn't believe it. And so I compare these guys to today.
Picture. I saw that picture of you at like 31 or something before you started gear.
Yeah.
Right?
When I was at my peak, probably. And when I was in 170 plus pounds, even at 155, like people, like there's no way you're 155, but yet I was winning everything at the time. Like I was winning bodybuilding shows, overalls, as a natural in non-tested shows. So I was doing really well. But then you take a genetics like that, which was, I was lucky to have those kind of genetics, add in steroids on top of it, and then you get a pro card. I bet every single pro card, every single pro bodybuilder in the Olympia stage, you take the drugs away, they look better than me on steroids. Like they're crazy. Like you don't think that Derek Lunsford or Big Ramy or any of these guys natural would still just be like, what the hell am I looking at? Even natural, they'd still be out of this world massive. But then they add steroids on top of that.
I have my own opinion on this too, but what would you say about Nick's physique then?
Nick Walker?
Nick Walker, his transformation. Have you seen that?
Yeah, he has exceptionally great genetics for using performance enhancing drugs. When I talk about like genetics, there's genetics for like shape and aesthetics. There's genetics for building muscle naturally. Then there's genetics for building muscle with low doses. Like let's say HRT, like you're natural, you go on 150 milligrams a week and you put on 20 pounds in 2 years. Then there's genetics to use a shit ton of drugs and still grow. I had great genetics for low doses. I put in really high doses. It didn't make that much difference. But perhaps some of these guys, like I think of Nick Walker, the higher the dose, the higher the muscle. Most people, they kind of cap out. I think that his genetics are, he just keeps growing. You know what I mean? A different kind of like, I had a ceiling on, I could take triple the trend and it's still not going to help. But for him, it just keeps growing.
It makes me curious because I want to try upping the doses to see if I respond that way that you're saying, but I'm just a little bit,
Is it worth it?
Worried about, exactly. Is it worth it? And then also like, on top of it being worth it, I am pretty like conscious of my blood work and everything, and I avoid any compounds that have side effects similar to Tren, including Tren.
Yeah.
But still, even like the drastic changes in like your androgenic characteristics, that's something I would like to avoid as well. And I feel like if you just increase compounds like Test and Tren, that's only going to grow.
I didn't look much better when I was on Test, Tren, EQ, and Masterone with Anavar and Halotestin and IGFs and all the peptides like GHRP 2, 6, and growth hormone than I did on just a little bit of Test and a little bit of Masterone and some little of Anavar. There's not much difference between, I'll call it a 5X cycle versus a small cycle. It's a bit bigger and it's a bit like harder, but it's certainly not more aesthetically pleasing. I definitely look way better on low doses of drugs than high doses. And the difference is like I could go up 5 times the dose and get 20% more results. And it's absolutely not worth it. Like if you're saying, is it worth it? No. Like you're playing Russian roulette with your health. I mean, I've done those mistakes. If I rewind the clock, I'm not doing it. But like I can't rewind that clock, so I'm not going to sit here and regret every dumb mistake I've ever made. But I can say it's not worth doing it. Lowest dose that makes you happy. The lowest dose that you can take, the better. Like if you're getting good results off a little bit of something, then just keep doing that little bit of something.
I agree. There's a balance for everything. And going too far in one way just makes you look more like the whole can look more like a monster, and that's not.
Yeah, it's not even a good look, and it's not good for your health. And then when you get off those drugs, there's more of a mood shift. Like when you're on all these drugs and then you take them away, it's a more of a difference. Like you can feel the difference. Like if you just take a little bit of Test and you take it out, there's not as much of a difference as you take a shit ton of tested Tren and you stop. It's like, what's wrong with me now? It's harder. It's harder. It's like drinking alcohol. 3 beers the next day you hungover. No, 13 beers, probably you're hungover. So the less you take, the easier the recovery.
So what are your beliefs and thoughts on like general population's beliefs of steroid dosages in the industry?
I don't understand the question. What are my thoughts on
the general population's beliefs of steroid dosages in the industry? So like, so I had Eric on my pod, right? And we had a reel that was posted that was talking about his cycle. And within that reel, he mentioned that he was taking 400
milligrams of Test.
And then he mentioned taking Primo and upping it up to like 800 or something. And then he didn't mention, like the clip ended before he was able to mention anything else about his GH or insulin use. But Kenny KO stitched it and was like, this guy's fucking lying. And then a bunch of other comments. Right, exactly. So my thoughts, like, I feel like every time anyone mentions anything about dosages these days, everyone, or at least a lot of the comments, say that they're lying.
Unless the dose is absurdly high, people aren't going to believe it. So if people heard Chris Bumstead's actual cycle, I don't think that they would believe it because I think they would think he's on more. Now, do I believe that Chris is on a very low doses of everything? No. I think he's on moderate doses. I think I took way more than him, but I'm not going to sit here and think that he only took 400 milligrams of Test and a bit of Primo and that's it. I don't believe that for 1 second. And Eric Janicki, I believe some of what he's going to say, but I don't think he's given us his exact peaked cycle while prepping for the show. Maybe he's given us an off-season.
He said it was
cycle.
his off-season.
There you have it. There's a huge difference from what I will take off-season. I would not my off-season maybe take like I remember one off-season cycle for me was 700 milligrams of Test and 50 milligrams of Anavar. That's an off-season, and that's when I'm like at my prime. But for show day, it's 700 Tests and it's 500 Tren and it's 500 Masteron and it's 500 EQ and it's 15 different orals and it's a lot. So if I say, yeah, this is what I'm doing and it's my off-season cycle, when I'm eating, it's a big difference in when I'm trying to be grainy hard and peaked on stage for a show. Huge difference in my cycles. Like my powerlifting cycles, so much smaller than my bodybuilding. And so I would do bodybuilding and powerlifting. And when I'd powerlift, I took much lower doses.
that's something that I really want to pressure and I really want to talk about a lot on my podcast and just push out more. Is I think a lot of people really overestimate how much people should be taking, and because all of these comments are going out, there's like this mass belief in the general pop that you got to be taking tons of steroids to like make it on the pro stage. And I think that's really dangerous because a lot of people are now taking tons of steroids, way more than they should, to make it somewhere in social media or make it on the pro stage.
See, the problem is you do need tons of steroids to make it on the pro stage. Like on the pro stage, bodybuilding, you need to take as much as you can take to make it. To be the best in the world, you're not going to be the best in the world on low doses. You know what? Like you're not. But the average person is going to get a lot from a little.
But I do feel like people are still overblowing what it could take. I really do. Like some people out there just believe like you need to be taking like 2 plus 3, 4 grams of gear. Some people really overblow the off season. Like you saw all those people claiming lies about even like Larry Wheel's cycle too. There was all these comments claim that he was lying about both his deadlift
HRT.
PR cycle as well as his you know, I think you guys did a video together about his at Olympia, his Olympia amateur cycle too. And that one is shocking for sure. Only 25 mgs of Anavar and then like basically TRT and then whatever else. But the fact that he needed to lose 50 pounds kind of makes sense.
It's ridiculous. But I think that in general, you're giving almost, I think, too much credit to the average person. The average person that's not a bodybuilder, that doesn't know anything, would think that a Mr. Olympia just takes steroids, probably testosterone. They don't know that Tren exists.
Right.
They don't know there's Halo tested. So you need to be knowledgeable on steroids to know or to assume that they're taking a lot of them. The average Joe, if I asked my mom and dad, how much you think Jay Cutler took for Mr. Olympia? They would be like, first of all, who's Jay Cutler? But they'd be like, well, I don't know, Tess, what did you take? Whatever you took. Like they wouldn't know. So I kind of
mean the general population that follows steroid content.
I think that the people who are educated think that because they're taking a lot and they're not looking like them, that they just assume that they just must take more. But it's genetics. That is what I think is happening. I think people underplay how important genetics are and overplay how much steroids work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think they overplay how much steroids work. I just would like to push this out there though, just for the safety, just because I do understand that some people really don't need that much to do well. And if everyone's going to take that much, then they might realize sooner or later that they affected their health a lot worse than they would have hoped.
Oh yeah. And, most people start with way too much. I can say this myself too. Also, I mean, I may not be the best example because I got my pro card in men's physique. So it's not anything fucking phenomenal. It wasn't bodybuilding. It wasn't open bodybuilding. It wasn't classic, but I got my pro card. I didn't really know what I was doing, and ended up getting orals from a coach when I just gave up after 7 shows of like failing naturally at nationals. And then I ended up winning my pro card on Halo tested and Winstrol. 10 mgs of Halo, and I'm pretty sure 50 of Winstrol. Which is not much for compared to what everyone else would take.
I guess hearing now, I guess it's not really that much compared to what other people would take.
No.
But it definitely helped. It helped a lot.
It would help a lot. Oh yeah. I'm not saying it's not working, but it's certainly a lot less than I would have taken. I would have taken all that plus all the injectables.
Mm-hmm. I didn't do my first injection until like a year after because I didn't know what I was doing. And then when I found out that my balls were basically dead, that's when I finally started trying to do HCG, and then finally later just decided to just jump on TRT and then try higher doses of test. But like what I'm basically trying to explain is I truly believe a lot of these people aren't lying. Like I think Eric was being real about his off-season cycle.
Yes. I think he was being real about his off-season cycle. I doubt he would say his actual cycle for a show.
Yeah, right. Larry, the Olympia amateur is hard to believe, but like knowing his coach and him as well, I believe that he had to do it to lose 50 pounds to make weight.
Why would he take a bunch of steroids that would make him have so much muscle he couldn't make the weight class? That makes sense.
Right.
So Larry couldn't have done a big cycle. He's already too big. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially considering that after the show he blew up like 52 pounds.
I know. Incredible. Dangerous.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Crazy. Yeah.
Anyways, I just have this I have this question that I like to end every podcast
with.
But if you were to die tomorrow and you had one message you could broadcast to the world, what would you like to say?
Train harder than last time. Friggin' get to the gym and train. And like as I said earlier in the podcast, my one wish on this earth is for people to see health and fitness the way I do, to have a passion for something. I mean, I want it to be health and fitness, like going to the gym, working out, eating healthy. And so my message would be, I want people to just love to be fit. It's like my passion. I want everyone to feel like I do.
Oh yeah. Love that. Greg, where can everybody find you?
Type in Greg Doucette on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere else, and you'll find me somewhere. And just please subscribe to the channel.
Yes. Subscribe to Greg, guys. Thanks for coming on the podcast, man. This was really
it was
phenomenal.
great.
Finally get to talk to you. I love your perspective, and you're literally like fucking real as fuck about everything. So I really appreciate the work that you do.
Love the questions. It was great.
Next time we'll definitely be able to like catch up more. I know all these people have like so many questions they want to ask you. So there's a lot about Sam too.
No doubt.
If you guys probably already follow Greg, but follow Greg if you haven't. He's got amazing content and talks real about like everything in the industry. His titles are just so out there, but his content's really, really true and genuine. And then if you guys would like to support the podcast, you can rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you find your podcast. And then also please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us get amazing guests like Greg here today. And I'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you.
Peace.